Genetically modified organisms, GMOs, are made by forcing genes from one species, such as bacteria, viruses, animals or humans, into the DNA of a food crop or animal in order to introduce a new trait. Worldwide, there are many controversies over the safety and viability of GMOs. Therefore, a number of countries have rejected or placed a moratorium on GMOs. For example, the European Union has restricted the use of GMOs in Europe. The High Court in India has placed a moratorium on GMOs. Mexico has rejected it outright. Other countries such as Austria, Bulgaria, Japan, Hungary and Switzerland are totally against GMO and have declared and voted to be GMO-free zones. Research scientists have used different forms of biotechnology in the laboratory to improve nutritional and medicinal qualities of crops. However, genetic engineering or modification was developed by scientists about 30 years ago, the United States being one of the leading producers of GM foods, especially in rice production. The difference in technology being one that is conventionally grown and the other which is tweaked or modified. The American Academy of Environmental Medicine has called for a moratorium on all GM foods, stating that several animal studies indicate serious health hazards associated with GM food, including infertility, immune problems, accelerated aging, faulty insulin regulation, and changes in major organs like the kidney and liver. They are urging physicians to prescribe healthier non-GMO foods to everyone. Ghana as a country ratified the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety in May 2004 after the various national legal procedures and measures to regulate research in the technology in the country. Aside this, the National Biosafety Committee (NBC) has also been set up to help the government regulate GM research in the country. A soil microbiologist at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Professor Robert Abeidu, is a member of the NBC. He says the laws are meant for research work alone.
There are guidelines that we have to abide or go by when you are applying what to do, when you are installing what you have to do, after the experimentation what you have to do with the products.
Advocacy and civil society groups here in Ghana have repeatedly called for a moratorium on the cultivation, importation or sale of GM crops until there is clear consent from Ghanaian consumers and farmers. But before it rose for the Christmas holiday, Parliament read for the second time the Plant Breeders Bill. The Plant Breeders Bill seeks to be compliant with the International Convention for the Protection of New Varieties of Plants, also known as UPOV 91. The Biosafety Act 2011 is already a law in Ghana. It paved the way for confined testing of genetically modified crops in the country. So far, both the LI and the Biosafety Act of 2011 are for only research into the GMOs, with no provision for the importation or commercial production of such crops. The Crop Research Institute (CRI), one of the 13 subsidiaries of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, has been at the forefront of the research and introduction of improved crop varieties through the traditional or conventional technology to farmers for mass and commercial production in Ghana since 1964. A 4-member team is spearheading the GM research in rice here in Ghana. Ranking member for the Committee of Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs in Parliament, Dr. Owusu Efriyi-Akoto, who also doubles as the Member of Parliament for Kwadaso, dismissed fears raised by what he termed anti-GMO activists that consuming genetically modified foods could be harmful to one's health. He added that scientists from the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research and other biosafety experts have testified that GMO products are safe.
I can assure anybody that GMO as a technology is not, we use it in medicine. We now use it in medicine to cure cancer and so on. And the same thing we can use in agriculture to improve our food security and so on. So this whole propaganda about the menace of GMO and its effect is only to scare farmers and to scare consumers.
In a sharp rebuttal, Executive Director of the Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development (CICOD), Bernard Guri said promoters of GMOs are just not presenting the facts as they are for Ghanaians to make informed decisions.
My appeal is that government should at least open one window to look at the bill again critically and find those that really tying us up to those companies and see how we can change them. Government should not be seen to be the propaganda for companies outside against their own people.
The government has been called upon to tread cautiously.
This is my personal, it's not my institutions that I'm, trying to. It's not a policy by the council or my institute. But what I have said and will continue to say is that we need to tread very.
Activists say they are not against science and technology to increase food production, but GMO technology is simply not the best. But what do Ghanaians think of GMOs? I sampled views from a cross-section.
I will advise
Ghanaians to buy organic foods locally produced here in Ghana. I don't think GM foods are good. They won't help us.
I don't think it's good for we, the farmers, the local farmers. The government should ban them. Because right now, if it is not labeled, we don't know the difference between the GMO seed and the locals because they all look alike.
Anytime we hear people talk about GMOs, they say that they are yet to know the consequences as to whether it is going to affect us or relieve us. So till that time, I wouldn't go in for GMO.
The director of the CRI, Reverend Dr. Hans Edudapa, said, so far, the institute has applied only the traditional or conventional research technology to develop the many improved crop varieties it has so far introduced to Ghanaian farmers. Reverend Dr. Edudapa said it is difficult to differentiate between GM foods and ordinary foods on the market, which all Ghanaians patronize. Reverend Dr. Edudapa gave details about certain laws and the bill currently in Parliament for consideration.
We're talking about three separate, these are acts: the Plant and Fertilizer Act, the Biosafety Act, and then what is currently before Parliament is the Plant Breeders Bill. But people are confusing GMOs with this. We are seeking to protect the rights of the materials we have developed over the years.
Anti-GMO activists say their bone of contention with the Plant Breeders Bill currently at the consideration stage before Parliament is that the bill is all about the imposition of GMOs into the food chain of Ghanaians.
Why did we fight for independence if we can't have sovereignty over our food system? Why do you give, as soon as you give your belly to somebody else to feed, to be in control of it, then you are finished. We're no more a country. So it might as well become what should I call the dogs of another country. So it's heading us towards becoming, when they say, hey, get up, get up, get up. When you have a dog and you're training, sit, sit. That's what it's leading us into. The whole idea of Homowo, Kuntum, and the various annual agricultural festivals that we have, which mark our New Year's and so on and so forth. The whole idea is about crop, the retention of seeds and the growth of seed and the agricultural cycle over a year. It just tells you that food is such, how can you conceive a human being without food and not in control of his food habits and his food, anything to do with what he ingests and so on. The parliamentarians who may be in favor or aren't in favor have really not been educated. Maybe they are not aware of the kind of things some of us, you may be aware of. And they should come out and explain why. And I think that there should be open voting. So that if any parliamentarian stands up and votes for this bill, well,
of the Center for No-Till Agriculture, Dr. Kofi Boah, is advocating a no-tillage conservation agriculture as a sustainable means of growing crops and increasing yields. The center is located at Amanchia in the Chiman-Rabeja district, about 15 kilometers away from Inkawe in Ashanti. Dr. Kofi Boah says there is enough evidence of the benefits of conservation agriculture and urged farmers to adopt this farming approach. He said the practice of shifting cultivation is no longer a sustainable option.
We were using shifting cultivation to regenerate the soil so that we could keep it productive. But now, shifting cultivation is no more feasible. But we still have to feed ourselves on a sustainable basis. And so we have devised means of ensuring that we're able to stay on a given piece of land and keep it productive for as long as we live.
One of the advantages of the GM crop, according to proponents, is its ability to resist weeds, thereby ensuring high yields. Dr.